Hello, friends and comrades in arms of the live broadcast room, your favorite 60 Minutes in Hot Tracks program. As a result, the Russian air and space forces' attacks on the rear infrastructure of the Ukrainian armed forces did not stop for a day. Over the weekend, Ukrainian army facilities in the Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kherson regions were attacked by missiles. The acting city guru is Radius. I can't say anything else. A man named Trukhanov said the city was attacked by 3 missiles. Ukraine's 59 air defenses performed well as usual, allegedly shooting down several missiles directly over private buildings. As a result, several houses were destroyed. At the same time, the Russian missile targeted fuel tanks on the territory of the Del Pavlmar agribusiness in the village of Novi Beliara, burning tanks. Look at your screen. This is already Yuzhny port, and there are also flights. Our ballistics put out the fire for 3 days in a row. As can be seen from the video, even robots supplied in Ukraine attracted liquidation. Germany has acquired Odessa's railway infrastructure video of a locomotive hit on a railway bridge between the settlements of Alexandrovka and Chernomorsk, confirms the accuracy of our missile soldiers. The railway bridge was almost completely destroyed, and this is already Kherson. A powerful explosion at the ammunition depot. Also in the city of Valera, the Western artillery garage was destroyed. Another successful ballistic missile attack on targets in the Kharkiv sauce. A powerful explosion sounded on the western outskirts of the city. According to preliminary data, the enemy device in it was destroyed. Enemy resources reported on the success of the Russian army on the front line. Deep State confirms release of new Mikhailov in Russia. Pacific Fleet Marines have worked particularly hard. The village itself is of great operational significance for DAR's coverage. Before attacking the city itself, it is necessary to occupy 2 more settlements along the Viska and Konstantinovka divisions, through which the main supply road for the garrison calls Lidar. Army aviation is working in the city today, 34 VC court, battle footage with half a ton of fabulous on your screens. In the direction of Artyomovsk, Russian forces continue to expand the control area of the flank near Chasovaya Yar, and the Russian Ministry of Defense has confirmed that it has taken full control. Bogdanov. At present, Russian troops are fighting fiercely in the eastern suburbs of Chasovo Yara in the Canal microdistrict. German military expert Bel Trepke said the Ukrainian armed forces had no air defense systems in the city area, although this was understandable from the city's personnel and there were no German experts. In this video, the position processing is highly fabricated, taken by a Russian drone. This is how the Platz blow looks from the front of our soldiers. Well, the first German Leopard was taken as a trophy. Now the Germans continue their journey somewhere in the vast Donbass, they say, immersed in a Russian tractor heading for Patriot Park, where as many years ago they will demonstrate. Destroyed equipment from Germany. Another trophy exhibit from Berlin infantry fighting vehicle Mordor shows Russian paratroopers are unlucky. Another American Halva has a new Canadian armored vehicle confirmed defeat. Senator armored vehicle shot down Drone 14 Special Forces Brigade in the direction of southern Donetsk. Russian military works successfully in the deepest rear of Ukraine. Russian Ministry of Defense announced video of missile attack on airport in Dnipropetrovsk region. This is more than 100 kilometers from the battle line. This time, it was hit by an aircraft belonging to the K-29, and the launcher of the C-300 complex was hit. After months of struggle, Congress approved $61 billion in aid to Ukraine by 210 votes to 112. The package itself exceeds all previous payments the U.S. government has provided to Ukraine. But this is only at a glance. In fact, of the $60 billion, Ukraine has only allocated $27 billion to war with Russia, and the rest will remain in the United States. Part of it will be used to replenish warehouses. US military, what does it have to do with Ukraine? Indirectly part of the European Command of the Army with SH and provide escorts for training Ukrainian soldiers. Well, that is to say, Americans have helped themselves. The Kremlin says the new handouts from the United States will further destroy Ukraine and further enrich the United States. Apparently, in response, members of the House of Representatives, shouting USA and holding Ukrainian flags, celebrated the approval of the aid with great fanfare. Democrat Hawley was particularly angry and, as they say now, gave up the real base. He said Ukraine's border with Russia is the border of the United States. Now it's up to the Senate. The vote will be held next Tuesday, which means sacrificing the weekend for Kiev. Senators still don't want conspiracy, there's no. There, as you know, the Democratic majority and Republican minority leader Mitch McConnell will try to talk about Ukraine after the Senate bill will be signed by Joe Biden. One, deliveries with Shea should allegedly begin at the end. This week, the Pentagon has everything ready in advance, and the U.S. auditor will send up to 60 additional military advisors to Kiev for so-called consultation and coordination. In other words, Ukrainians will not be allowed to spend or even master credit funds independently. Choose America itself on November 5th, not only the presidential election, but also the Senate election. That means Ukrainians do not have to expect a new aid budget for Ukraine to be passed by November. That is to say, Biden will extend the $27 billion until the end of the year. And then, if Trump becomes president, how will the card be laid? Everything here is usually unpredictable. At the same time, the speaker. Johnson was almost called the new Churchill by the Democratic Party, who went against the will of the party and made the right decision to fight Russia. Zelensky received the gift on Hitler's birthday on April 20th. However, it turns out that even Americans admit that the new money will not reverse the situation on the battlefield, but will only prolong the war indefinitely, the Journal wrote today, and that the U.S. handout is unlikely to fundamentally change the catastrophic situation in Ukraine. At best, Congresswoman Margaret Taylor Greene, who has already worn a star-studded earmuff hat, will help maintain the status quo for some time. He officially recorded Kremlin agents, calling Speaker Johnson a Democrat elected from Ukraine. Both for her. As you know, the scolding also said that Johnson betrayed not only the Republicans, but also the whole of the United States. However, this year's U.S. military aid will be more comprehensive, even more than in previous years. Of course, there is no good in this regard. But according to the Daily Mirror, the Germans, rational people, have suspected that the U.S. package will be the last, and then the burden of war with Putin will fall entirely on Europeans. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg was more optimistic, saying it was not too late for the United States to help. Many Ukrainians have died before, new Mavod BB for Abrams Leopard. As they say, Zelensky can't recruit bad people before Nema. But now, when I read the news, I thought it was definitely fake, which may be unimaginable. Zelensky explained it with his own mouth in an interview, saying that there will be a direct quote next. The US military now does not need to fight to defend NATO countries. The Ukrainians are doing this for you, and the civilized world is providing ammunition, which is a good solution. End of quote. Well, that is to say fight, Zelensky said. Zelensky said that this is a good decision, a civilized world. Security, that is, Zelensky called the United States a civilized world. Recognizing that Ukrainians are Papuans who are happy to die. For example, when we talk about this, we will play Lin, but when the president of a so-called independent country expresses this barbarism, it is one thing, that is, he eventually sells his country into slavery, and Zelensky exchanges Ukrainian men and women for weapons. But the Ukrainian blood clown is once again convinced he has a chance to win. Indeed, he immediately reserved the need for weapons as soon as possible. In other words, he was kind of preparing to explain to everyone why he lost, because the weapon came too late. But as they say, all of Donald Trump's peace-loving followers. Separately, Donald changed his shoes on Saturday and endorsed Speaker of Congress Mike Johnson. On polling day, he hid in the most secluded part of Mar-a-Lago, did not put pressure on Republicans, and did not say a word against aid to Ukraine. So Donald is blown up, but why? First of all, because he's about to hold an American election, the polls are doing very well, and Russia is the main enemy of Americans. Second, Donald, if you believe D, Wick became a martyr, and now he will become a criminal. The truth is, the Trump trial doesn't stop for a day in court. Donald spends 4 in a week out of 7, and the passion is driving not only Donald Trump, but ordinary Americans. Outside a New York courthouse, where one of Trump's criminal cases of bribing porn actresses is being heard, the man set himself on fire. The brutal footage of the city madman turned out to be American Max Azazello. She explained her motive for setting fire to her, he wrote on his blog. The man accused Trump and Biden of preparing for an apocalyptic fascist world coup and wanted to draw attention to victims of some totalitarian scam. They couldn't save Ozarira. Against this backdrop, 65% of Americans believe Trump did not break any laws, and the process itself is roughly seen as Kafka's work. In fact, the main goal set by the Democratic Party, the trial of Trump, has not been completed, and the trend of his negative popularity among the people has not been reversed. The latest poll published by De Gea has not been successful. Trump continues to bypass Biden by 3%, 46% to 43%. At the same time, Biden himself was not even shocked by the ratings, but by the fact that already young American children showed him their middle fingers and sent a new chip to public relations experts, a joint ad with Barack Obama. The main message was vote for Joe. Everything will be like under Obama, if, as under Obama, the world is facing a new economic crisis. After the European Union imposed sanctions on Russian agricultural products, Asia and Africa became the main food importers. According to reports, in the 22nd and 23rd, more than 36 countries, including Syria, Somalia, and other poorest economies in the world, mainly relied on Russia for food security. Journalists for the publication I'm Going Time called it Putin's food diplomacy. This approach will allow Moscow, which already controls more than 25% of world grain trade, to exert greater influence on world markets and even drive the West out of developing countries. All this is due to the establishment of the BRICS grain exchange in the near future, which will naturally bypass the US dollar in addition to favorable terms of trade. As they say, as a gesture of goodwill, Russia sent free wheat to the countries most in need. According to Asian journalists, the influence of food diplomacy has been most prominent in North and West Africa. The Central African Republic has proposed to host Russian military bases and has received Russian weapons. Burkina Faso has also received Russian troops. But the main step and curse was made by the Americans in Niger, where Americans are driven out with a fucking broom. The government of Niger noted that the situation in the Niger was similar to that of the United States. They use military bases not to help fight terrorism, as they claim, for intelligence and their own military purposes. Now, all the construction from the U.S. Air Force Base in Baghdad, it cost taxpayers $100 million and will withdraw more than 1,000 troops. The agreement has been reached, a trend that is worrying for Washington, as the chat will follow Niger's example. The German edition of the Daily Mirror found another reason why the German government legalized marijuana consumption. Is marijuana allowed to be smoked in Germany? I would remind you that since April 1st, it has been a joke to legalize marijuana. Germany is improving a policeman. According to that statistic, in Berlin, every 2 crimes are related to marijuana. Marijuana accounted for nearly 1,430 drug trafficking cases last year. But even now, Scholz, who himself told China that he had never smoked marijuana, can report how clever he is. He halved the drug trade in the capital, and if heroin and cocaine were legalized, the victory would be complete. But of course, it would be ironic. In fact, hundreds of 1,000 Germans, panic attacks, depression, paranoia, and marijuana-related mental disorders have more than tripled in the past 10 years, from 65,000 to 209,000. This was a dynamic even before Canadians legalized it, but the current German authorities certainly don't care. The fact is that, according to economists at the University of Dusseldorf, the full legalization of marijuana could bring nearly 5 billion euros to the country's budget, and this is a Saturday every year in Germany. In this regard, World Cannabis Lovers Day was celebrated with great fanfare, with hundreds of herbal smokers gathering at the Donbass gate and lighting the largest door frame. In their lives, they say that's what freedom is called. Also in Germany, gender change is allowed, but not more than once a year. How many people? On Saturday, they changed their gender after being found to be intoxicated, and statistics did not report. But that is to say, complete degradation, economic destruction, as you can see, is now also the stupidity of Europe. Who's good? Americans are naturally good. Tucker Carlson just commented on the aid package Washington has apparently allocated to Ukraine. We emphasize again that according to Mike Johnson's official statement, 80% of the 61 billion. They will remain in the United States of America and will be used by American companies to produce American weapons. The rest of the money will be used by the European Union to fund American programs to operate the European Union and to train Ukrainians in Europe, which will be used by Ukraine itself. Would you ask? Что достается самой Украине, спросите вы. Украине достается оружие, и как заявил сам Zelensky, Ukraine has access to weapons, and as Zelensky himself said, the opportunity to die for civilization. So Carlson said 70% of the US population did not want to fund Ukraine, but Congress did not stop it. People have lived under such systems since the advent of systems, but especially offensive ones. Tucker Carlson said it was intolerable that such a system was called democracy, that we did not live in an age of slavery, but that people were used to make money.